for direct entry, and I failed woefully. So I remember vividly after completing my secondary school education, I needed to proceed further in my academic journey, but then there was no means, there was no source of funding, and I had to wait for some years. I stayed back at home. There was no means, and seeing my friends already in the university, doing this and that, I felt bad. I was worried. I was so bothered. And then the Lord told me that it is settled and that He's doing something at that particular time. But then I was still worried. I was not so sure then. So I now took a step. A bold step. I took a bold step by talking to someone that I know. And the reason why I did that, to talk to that person about my university education, was because I was thinking that the person might help me, fund my academics. And then nothing came out from the whole discussion, and I had to go back home. I felt like I should not have spoken to anybody about it since God has given me His word. So then I just moved on and I trusted God. And then in less than a year, the Lord made a way. And then, in fact, the funding throughout my university education went so smooth. The Lord just took control, and I would say for sure that when God gives His word that He's going to do something in your life, don't try to use your wisdom. Don't try to achieve them with your own strength, by your own strength, because scripture says that by strength shall no man prevail. So you don't have to, as long as God has given His word, all you need to do is to wait, trust Him, do all that is needed that you need to do to prepare yourself for that which God will do. And when God will do it, you will be amazed. You will be shocked. It's going to even do it beyond your imaginations. So from this experience, it's made my faith stronger. It made me understand that when God says He's going to do a thing, I don't need to bother. I don't need to start looking, sorting up or looking or putting my faith or trust in men, because God has said, I will do it, not a man. So definitely, God did it. And then here I am. I've graduated. I've earned a degree in microbiology, and God has been faithful.
This experience I want to share with you happened in the year 2017 when I was actually attempting something, and then I actually needed a financial aid that would facilitate that which God has promised. And in the view of this, I happen to know someone that I know confidently can be of help. So, and even before this thing came to reality, we already had a previous discussion regarding that. The person was like, "Don't worry, whenever you are ready, I'm always there. I will give you this, I will give you that." And then at the long run, when God made that promise, I already felt that, oh, this is already an answered prayer. As God has said it, I think God is ready to facilitate the stuff I wanted to do. And then after the prayer and the likes of things, I reached out to this person, and then I said, "Oh, regarding this our previous conversation, I think this is the right the time to do it is now, and then I will actually need your support." And confidently, this person told me like, "Oh, don't worry, I will. Whenever you are ready, just tell me the set time and set date." And then the very time that I wanted to do it, that I need to engage in it, at the long run, this person actually didn't pick or return messages. Consistently for over a month, I keep trying to reach out, but then there was no response. And at the long run, the first thought that came to my mind was that, is it not that God has said this thing, and then why is it not coming to reality? But then at the end of it all, I finally realized that even though God has said it, there is still there's still a part of me that still need to ask God how He wants it to be done. Is it that I will need to play my part, or it is just God who is going to orchestrate everything? And the only thing that is needed for me is to walk in alignment to what He has made provisions for. So I just want to encourage you as a believer that even though God has made promises, even though He has promised, He has made those covenants, keep at it. And if at any point you are confused or you don't even know what to do, I still believe like we can still go back to God to make inquiries and say, Father, this thing that you have said, how do you want to do it? How do you want to go about it? It is in His own plan, in His own way, if He's going to reveal the plan or not. But just keep trusting God. And I know that He will actually come through for you. I leave you with this. As He said it, He will surely do it. Shalom. God bless you.
So when God says He's going to do a thing, you don't have to struggle. But I remember when God says that when I was praying about concerning my marital status, so when I was single, God told me that I'm going to get married. So, and because I was in haste, I was looking at the time that I'm already 30. I'm already 30 and I was like, when would I get married? When would I get So I started, the person I was having a relationship with at then. So I started telling him that okay, when will you come and see my parents? When will you come and see my parents? I started doing it in my own way. I started just as if I am so pressurizing the person and it wasn't working out. So it wasn't working out at all. And it get to a point that I was frustrated. I was like, at my age, I am not getting married. So as at that time. So I started praying and I left everything for God to handle by himself. I just said, okay, I was the one that is striving. I was the one that is trying to make everything work by myself. I was working hard so that I could get married at the age of that 30 that I was then. So, but everything wasn't going on as planned at all. So by the time God said that, okay, that's the right time, you want to do what He said. So I left everything to God. That okay, at this point, I am done doing it in my own way. So I just left everything to God. That okay, God should take control of everything. When I met my husband, I wasn't even planning it. It wasn't what I was planning. That okay, this is. I did not orchestrate it myself. It was God that did it. He just met, and just as if that I was the one that I was waiting for, and everything go as God has planned, not me planning it. It not even got to a point that I was not like, I'm not ready again, or I want to take my time, I want to do that. I was the one pursuing marriage then, that I was the one that was in haste then. So it now got to a point that when God said that, okay, he's ready, when I gave him the will, so God now said, okay, he's ready. This is the person that you are going to marry. This is the man for you. And everything come as very easy. But very, very easy. I find my peace. I find everything that I wanted. And I bless God that because I gave him, I did not work for God. Then I was working for God. I was helping him to do what he has already promised me that he's going to do. That was what I was doing there. And why working for God, why working it in my own way, I did not see results. I didn't see results. But because I left it for God, God said that okay, this is my plan for you. This is what I want you to do. This is where I want you to be. This is the age I want you to be. So I later got married at the age of okay, 31. So and Because it was late doesn't mean that I will not get what I want to get. So everything comes fast, and I bless God for what He has done, because I gave Him the will to drive on himself, and is leading me to a better place. Glory be to God. So I just want to say that, so when God promises that He's going to do a thing for us, we should allow Him to do His work. We should allow Him to do His work. We should not just do it for Him. We should allow Him to do His work. Thank you.
It's very impossible for God to lie. God cannot lie. With two immutable things, in Hebrew chapter 6, verse 18, it talks about how the promises of God are here and amen, that God cannot lie. So if God has promised something, we would definitely do it. And I like to share my own personal experience. I remember there was a time I was trusting God for a partner, and it's not forthcoming, and I prayed and I received a confirmation that okay, by God's grace, the person will come. So in the long run, I met somebody. And when I met the person, instead of me to go back to God to ask God, is it the person? But because I received that okay, the person will come, I should hold on, and yet I did that. So when the person came, I didn't go back to God to ask God that okay, God, is it the person that you actually want for me? So we started the process of a thing, and I wanted to go into a relationship with the person. We fixed a date for introduction, and later on the things scattered because something happened and we could no longer do it again. So at that point, I was trying to figure out things for myself, like to make it work out, even though God promised me. So if God has promised you something, He will definitely do it. We are not in the position to figure out things for God. It's very impossible. When we are telling God that God is incapable or God is impossible. And there is no impossibility in God, according to the book of Luke. Said for man it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. I learned my lesson in a very hard way because that time I was very emotionally down when I said, God, you did this and you promised me that. But God said, no, that's not the plan. Though I said a man will come, but yet he didn't come back to me to ask whether that's the person or not. So I'm encouraging anyone listening to this right now. If God has promised you anything, just trust Him in the process. Believe Him and don't lean in your own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3 talks about that. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. Don't figure things out for yourself. Don't try to help God. You remember the case of Sarah. Sarah helped Abraham when God promised them a child, and yet the child was not yet coming. And Sarah was like, okay, she gave the husband a maid to go in with her, with the man, and yet the woman conceived and gave her to a son, which was not the promise of God for their destiny. So when we are trying to help God in the process, you may actually receive what does not belong to you that God has promised. But that's what happened to Sarah. They received a child, but that was not the promised child for them. So keep on trusting God. I will say that no matter what you are trusting God for, even though it's tiring, Habakkuk talk about that, wait for it because it will come to pass. It will. And Hebrew chapter 10:38 says that we should not cast away our confidence that has a great recompense of reward. So if you have a reward in God and yet it's not forthcoming, keep trusting Him, believe in Him, keep doing whatever He says you should do. Keep listening to instruction and obey instructions. God bless you.